espacio est. Enigma cuderitas est. Seeker.
Welcome back, my fellow Seekers. Someone once said, the only new thing in history is the history you don't know. And that was 33rd degree Freemason Harry S. Truman. And the Tulli Papyrus may hint to us of a lost history, of a supernatural event. Now, someone else once said, without the supernatural, all you're left with is the unnatural. And that was Catholic theologian G.K. Chesterton. Now, the Egyptians greatly believed in this idea, for Egypt may be the primal source of magic manifesting in the Garden of Eden. So Egypt may be the source where angels directly affected into history, and the Tulli Papyrus may hint to that. So let's see what it has to say. The Tulli Papyrus is one of the first documented UAP case files by the Egyptians. The Tulli Papyrus was a transcript of an ancient artifact once held at the Egyptian Museum at the Vatican of an event that took place around 1480 BC, not far from the hypothesized date of the Exodus around 1446 BC, which could explain why the Vatican had interest in it. This was during the reign of King Thutmose III. The events of this transcript take place over a number of days. The former director of the Vatican Egyptian Museum, Professor Alberto Tulli, discovered the original manuscript in 1933 during a trip to Cairo. The ancient manuscript was actually for sale at a local shop and likely wound up at the shop by illegal looting. Professor Tulli wanted to purchase the original papyrus manuscript, but it was too expensive, so he asked if he could pay a small fee to make a copy, which he did. Several notable Egyptologists studied the transcript, including Prince Boris de Roqueville and R. Cedric Lenard. The following is the transcript made by R. Cedric Lenard. In the year 22, in the third month of winter, in the 6th hour of the day, the scribes of the House of Life noticed a circle of fire that was coming from the sky. From the mouth it emitted a foul breath. It had no head. Its body was 1 rod long and 1 rod wide. It had no voice. From there the hearts of the scribes became confused, and they threw themselves down on their bellies. Missing text. Then they reported their things to the Pharaoh. Missing text. His Majesty ordered. Missing text. Has been examined. Missing text. And he was meditating on what had happened, that it was recorded in the scrolls of the House of Life. Now after days had passed, these things became more and more numerous in the skies. Their splendor exceeded that of the sun, and extended to the limits of the 4 angles of the sky. Missing text. High and wide in the sky was a position from which these fiery circles came and went. The army of the Pharaoh looked on with him in their midst. It was after supper. Then these fiery circles ascended higher into the sky, and they headed toward the south. Fish and birds then fell from the sky, a marvel never seen since the foundation of the land. Missing text. The Pharaoh caused incense to be brought to make peace with earth and Amun-Ra. Missing text. What happened was ordered to be written by the annals of the House of Life, so that it can be remembered for all time forward. Now, decades after Tulli's creation of the transcript, those who doubted the authenticity of Professor Tulli's transcript wanted to see the copy for themselves. However, they were unable to find it, so they contacted the Vatican Museum to see if it was still located somewhere in the Egyptian section or at the Vatican archives. The Vatican replied that it was no longer among the pieces in their Egyptian museum collection. Professor Tulli kept the transcript among his personal belongings at the time of his death. Professor Tulli's brother inherited the transcript, but shortly thereafter, Professor Tulli's brother also died. It was believed that the transcript was then inherited by one of Professor Tulli's brother's 3 children, but the search was never pursued that far. Thus it was lost, but the Vatican would not say if it had a copy of it in the Vatican archives, or at least the officials of the museum did not have access to that information. It's possible the Council on the Supernatural took note of it and compared other potential ancient case files, and archived it for the secret study of supernatural events, especially if it had a connection with Exodus. More than likely there is more than one case fragment in many ancient manuscripts, but long eroded away, but possibly some may have been stored at Masonic libraries or even at the Library of Congress. The Tulli Papyrus claim originated in a 1953 article published in Doubt, a 14th Society magazine, by Tiffany Thayer. Members were more atheistic and appealed to more sci-fi stories of it. So this is where people like Eric Von Daniken start to latch on. Although ufologists like Jacques Vallée and Chris Ulbeck have described it more as a hoax or misinterpretation of another event. According to Vallée and Ulbeck, since Thule had supposedly copied it during a single viewing of the original papyrus using an ancient Egyptian shorthand, and others had not seen it, the original transcript. So the alleged text was likely contained transcript errors, making it impossible to verify, until new transcripts arise from Egypt. And Jacques Vallée was skeptical that it was anything to do with extraterrestrials based off the description, so he thought it was more of a hoax to start correlating it with UFOs, specifically extraterrestrial phenomenon. But he did not rule out the possibility of a supernatural encounter, which fits to many of his stories and hypothesis of ancient legends of fairies and will-o'-the-wisps. I too agree with Jacques Vallée's hypothesis that this could be more of a description of a supernatural manifestation of the Aten, the winged discs or orbs. Because when it comes to the nature of supernatural creatures, form is not a limitation, but a physical illusion that is very real, such as the cryptid phenomenons, like a werewolf, which may have been inspired by Anubis. The Netflix show The Dragon Prince does an okay job trying to explain the reality of magic.
The Arcanum of the Moon is about understanding the relationship between appearances and reality. Most people believe that reality is truth and appearances are deceiving. But those of us who know the Moon Arcanum understand we can only truly know the appearance itself. You can never touch the so-called reality that lies just beyond the reach of your own perception.
So the Arcanum comes from archangels. Some angels have the ability to take forms depending on the conditions and laws of the primal source, that being God. There are laws within the realm of the supernatural, just as there are in nature. The Moon Arcanum is symbolic of an actual reality. For example, demons can't just manifest a Bigfoot inside your house. God restricts that to certain nexuses or genus loci. Egypt is that nexus, that Zadia. Now, there are exceptions because of the original sin of the use of magic, aka ritual prayer, used in the wrong way by humans who act like a portal for demonic angels to feed off of in order to gain in power to influence our reality, whereas good angels are the ones keeping reality in order. That's why you never see hardly any effects by good angels, but more so demonic angels. This is our Arcanum connection. So the Dragon Prince gets us a little wrong with this idea that the animals and certain elements hold Arcanum. Animals do not have an Arcanum connection because they are not higher evolutionary creatures with the ability of syntax. A dog cannot summon an angel, but humans have that ability, such as with the disturbing case of Stan Romanek, where he really does have video evidence of an extraterrestrial manifestation. But he wants to believe these are biological creatures. I assure you, they are. But they're not born from evolution, but angels simply taking the form of an ET, no different than people claiming to see full-body apparitions of humans. He also has evidence of the poltergeist phenomenon in his house, such as the dark shadow figures. This is a common characteristic of the demonic phenomenon manifesting in people's houses because people are playing with spirit magic and wanting to believe. They take advantage of humans, and there are many lectures by theologians on this, Muslim and Catholic. He becomes a portal, just like Raven in Teen Titans, because they're trying to take advantage of his weakness, his desire, or his fruit, the forbidden fruit, the desire to believe they're extraterrestrials. That's his weakness, and that's how they manifest, and they take advantage of him that way. The more he talks, the more powerful they can get, to the point of creating apparitional illusions that are very real. If he could actually get close and touch it, it would be solid and feel biological in every aspect. But what he doesn't realize or wants to accept, that this is simply an angel poofing into existence a biological form, because he allowed it without realizing that. So there's a chance that the ancient Egyptians also experimented with this observation. So in the case of the Tulli Papyrus, it's possible that Pharaoh Thutmose III and his high priests may have been the catalyst on why this UAP manifested over them. He may have been fucking around with sex magic for all we know, trying to bring back someone from the dead. Seems like a common thing in Egypt. Where do you think the idea of mummification comes from? And God just got a little fed up, so here comes the plagues. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I mean, Rasputin learned it the hard way. But who knows, we'll ultimately just need more texts and more evidence. So this is something known quite well in the esoteric traditions, such as within Freemasonry and those within the Vatican. If this was an actual extraterrestrial biological ETs, we would know it by now. They wouldn't be playing this hide-and-seek game and peekaboo game for thousands of years. That sounds like something supernatural creatures like jinns would do. It's only a matter of time until science starts to catch up, when the deep state allows it, and 2020 Revelation is just the start. Now, in my upcoming video for YouTuber Suspect Sky, I will be finding potential video evidence on the supernatural to show you that not just all talk, but I am trying to find evidence. And so should you, especially if you're a skeptic like certain people I know on the tweet. So stay tuned for my compilation video on the poltergeist phenomenon that will be on YouTuber Suspect Sky's channel around Halloween. Also, consider coming out for the re-release of Alita Battle Angel, which I and the Alita Army helped promote. Consider supporting this underrated film with many biblical Easter eggs in it, so see if you can check that out. And also support the hurting theaters at this time. And let's send a signal to the Zolomites up at Disney. So thank you all for watching my video, leave a comment and a like, and thank you all for supporting Alita, and let us know what you think about the Tulli Papyrus. This has been Enigma Seeker, keep seeking those enigmas.
Enigma de Pravatio.